Am I overreacting? I got upset that my husband told me to go to bed so he could have the house to himself. My husband and I had just put the kids to bed and decided to unwind by watching an episode of our favorite show. The day had been particularly exhausting for me. I had spent it at a birthday party with our 2-year-old and 5-month-old in sweltering 104-degree heat. My husband, on the other hand, had stayed home to catch up on some chores that had been piling up. Normally, I would be the one to stay back and handle housework, so I fully understand that while chores are hard, they also provide a bit of a break from the intense demands of childcare. My husband frequently reminds me of this whenever he's given me a break to clean the house. As the clock struck 11 p.m., I was on the verge of falling asleep on the couch. Recently, our baby has been waking up almost immediately after I come to bed, making it difficult for me to get any rest. I was so exhausted that I just wanted to stay on the couch for a while, hoping to avoid the inevitable wake-up call from the baby. However, my husband abruptly got up and announced, "Okay, time for you to go to bed." He left the room momentarily, and I remained lying down, too tired to move. When he returned, he said, "Please, I'm going to game." I explained that I was exhausted and intended to sleep on the couch until the baby woke up, so I wouldn't have to deal with a wake-up and potential feeding right away. He responded, "Please, I'm asking very nicely. Please leave the room so I can have some time to myself." This request baffled me. There was nowhere else for me to go, and we had previously been sharing the space without any issues. The living room wasn't his personal man cave, it was a shared space. I questioned why I couldn't just sleep there for a bit, assuring him that he wouldn't disturb me. He wanted to play a college football game he was obsessed with, using headphones, so noise wasn't even a concern. He repeated, "I've asked very nicely. I just want the couch to myself." At this point, I was visibly irritated. I felt like I was being kicked out of our living room so he could have the entire space to himself, even though the huge sectional couch could easily accommodate both of us without us even touching each other. I reluctantly got up, feeling more upset with each passing moment. He had already settled on the floor with his headset on, not even on the couch, and reiterated that he had worked around the house all day and deserved some alone time. The entire situation made me feel like crap. I expressed my feelings, but he dismissed them, laughing and saying it wasn't a big deal. He insisted I should just give him his space. This reaction hurt me deeply, as it seemed like he didn't understand or care about how exhausted and overwhelmed I was feeling. As I walked away from the living room, I couldn't help but reflect on the day. It had been a long, hot, and tiring day with the kids. I had been looking forward to finally getting some rest, and his insistence on having the living room to himself felt incredibly selfish and inconsiderate. I felt like my needs and exhaustion were being completely disregarded. I ended up retreating to our bedroom, trying to process my emotions. The baby did wake up shortly after, as expected, and I had to attend to her while feeling completely drained. I couldn't shake off the feeling of frustration and hurt. It wasn't just about being kicked out of the living room, it was about the lack of empathy and understanding from my husband. He knew how challenging my day had been, yet he still prioritized his alone time over my need for rest. As I lay in bed, my mind raced with thoughts and emotions. I wondered if I was overreacting or if my feelings were valid. It was hard to gauge in the moment, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that my feelings were justified. It wasn't just about that one night, it was about a pattern of behavior where my needs were often secondary to his. The next morning, the tension lingered between us. I tried to bring up the issue calmly, hoping to have a constructive conversation about how I felt. I explained that while I understood his need for alone time, there had to be a balance where both of our needs were considered. I expressed that his dismissive attitude and lack of empathy had hurt me deeply. To my relief, he listened and acknowledged that he hadn't been considerate of my feelings. He admitted that he had been caught up in his own need for relaxation and hadn't thought about how his actions were affecting me. We talked about finding a better balance and being more mindful of each other's needs. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a step in the right direction. In the days that followed, we both made an effort to be more considerate of each other's needs. I tried to communicate more openly about when I needed rest or a break, and he made an effort to check in with me before making assumptions about my availability. It was a learning process, but we were making progress. Looking back on the situation, I realized that relationships require constant communication and empathy. It's easy to get caught up in our own needs and forget to consider our partner's perspective. While my husband's actions that night had hurt me, it also highlighted areas where we needed to grow and improve as a couple. I also learned the importance of standing up for myself and expressing my needs. It can be challenging, especially when you're exhausted and overwhelmed, but it's crucial for maintaining a healthy and balanced relationship. I understood that my feelings were valid and that it was okay to advocate for my own well-being. As time went on, our relationship strengthened through these conversations and efforts. We became more attuned to each other's needs and more supportive of each other. It wasn't always easy, but it was worth it to build a stronger and more empathetic connection. In the end, the incident with the living room became a catalyst for positive change in our relationship. It served as a reminder that we both deserve to have our needs met and that we need to work together to create a supportive and understanding environment. Through open communication and a willingness to listen,